And thanks again for joining, everybody, and welcome to our webinar for today. My name is Paul Ziliak with XK0, and the webinar that we're presenting today is called Global Search, the missing link for Sage 100. Global Search saves everyone time. For Sage 100 users, it improves workflow, and it can deliver instant intelligence right within your Sage 100 system. We believe that GetX is the one tool that's guaranteed to improve the system experience of Sage 100 for everyone on your entire team. So during the course of this webinar today, some of the things that you'll see will be some of the simple and complex search methods that we introduced to Sage 100 with GetX Global Search, how to create new workflows, 30 or so new feature requests that have come to Sage that can be resolved with GetX. And for you Sage business partners, hopefully you'll be able to see the opportunity for how you can differentiate with Sage 100 by utilizing GetX when you do product demos to win new deals. And then maybe most importantly, we'll talk about how you can obtain your own free copy, a 30-day free trial copy of GetX for you Sage business partners, for you to share with your clients, and for you end users who might be on the call, for you to be able to utilize for yourselves. So thanks again for joining us. A couple of housekeeping notes that I want to mention. We are in listen-only mode. So as we're in listen-only mode, if you do have questions, please go ahead and enter them into the question box that is presented to you as part of the GoToWebinar. I am recording this session, so this will be available for you to share with others within your organization as you see fit. So first, a little bit of background with XK0. For those of you who are familiar with us, you may know us for our mobile sales solution that are engineered for Sage 100 and for Sage X3. XK0 mobile sales and delivery apps this year will power over $1 billion worth of sales and delivery transactions, all integrated with Sage 100 and Sage X3, and that amount is growing rapidly. In our product portfolio, we have products such as iSales 100. iSales 100 provides advanced mobile sales functionality for wholesale distributors and manufacturers who have outside sales reps and who may sell from places like trade shows or showroom floors or special events, or really anyone who's outside of the office, not at a desktop, and needs to be able to sell, serve, and support their customers. So iSales is also redefining e-commerce. So we have customers with their end user customer who, instead of using a desktop-based e-commerce site, are now downloading the iSales app, allowing them to safely and securely inquire about their own activity, open orders, open invoices, even place an order or a quote, right from an iPhone or an iPad. So iSales is built exclusively for Sage 100. It offers incredible ease of use and setup. Everything's managed directly within Sage 100, and it's a system that you can start using within hours, not days or weeks or months before you get up and going. So it's a very productive tool. XK0 is also redefining route sailing and direct store delivery for companies with outside sales reps and their own fleet of vehicles. XK0 Mobile Commerce automates such functions as truck loading, route management, sales automation, payment acceptance, intelligence gathering, and so on. And this is primarily for companies who are in industries such as food and beverage. Could be frozen foods, it could be wine and spirits or beer, oil and gas companies, industrial supply, hard goods companies. Once again, if you have your own fleet of vehicles, or if your clients have your own fleet of vehicles, there may be a great opportunity to create automation and efficiency for them, controlling inventory, accelerating sales, accelerating the supply chain. And this is all built with comprehensive integrations for Sage 100 and for Sage X3. Also at XK0, we offer a number of what we call technical services from XK0. We're Sage Master Developers for Sage 100, Sage X3, and Sage 500, and we do such things as custom development, advanced scripting and SQL, advanced Crystal reports. We have our own web services that we can help you utilize for all different kinds of integrations. Some really, really cool things done by our development team with XK0 Technical Services. But today we're going to talk about maybe the coolest thing that we do of all, and that's global search for Sage 100. So we have a product that we call GetX. GetX has been around since the end of 2011, and it's the one product that's really guaranteed to improve the experience of using Sage 100, creating a faster, better experience. If you think of your ERP, think of your Sage 100 system like a golf game. The more time you spend on the golf course, the more swings that you take, the worse that you're doing at golf. You might enjoy the process of the walk in the park, but it's really not the objective of the game. The objective of the game is to accomplish that course in as few shots as possible. And that's really what you're able to do with a tool like GetX, which is really a one-of-a-kind. So in the first place, global search, why should I care, right? Well, here's the reason why you might care. Whether you think of it this way or not, that information in your Sage 100 system can look quite a bit like this. It's tons of information, and especially if you're a newer user, especially if you're a high volume type of account, you've accumulated a huge amount of data in your system, and it can often be daunting to figure out where it is that I'm going to go to be able to find the information that I wish to work for. Now, Sage 100 isn't just a total dump of data. It's highly organized, right? But just like a library is organized, with Sage 100, similar to a library, you have to understand the organization of the system before you can get started. So even if I know where the science fiction books are kept, even if I know how to find my favorite writer in the library, I still might have to go up the stairs, down the hall, down a row of books before I find that thing that I'm looking for. And if there's some urgency in what it is that I'm looking for, there's no real good way for me to shortcut in doing that, right? So, when I'm a user, I really have to understand, I have to have a strong understanding of that structure. And even if I have a strong understanding of the structure, I still have to follow the structure before I can do what I want, even if I know exactly where it is, right? So here's the result. The result is people wait. So whether it's you sitting at the desktop or whether it's someone at your office who needs information, a customer or a supplier, somebody else who relies on you and the information that you have for them to make decisions, for them to take action in their business, they're waiting. And none of us really likes to wait. So let's think about the kinds of needs that Sage 100 users have that maybe can be faster. And rather than just kind of make some things up and assume things, what I did is I spent a little time and I plumbed through the Sage 100 idea site. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Sage maintains an idea site for Sage 100, and it's a place where you or anybody else can go in and put in your ideas for new feature functionality within Sage 100, and then you have the opportunity to vote on that. And you can even see Sage will reply to certain things. Other users will reply to certain things and tell you where you might, how you might solve the particular problem that you're looking for. And Sage will also indicate when they plan to be adding something to their system. So this is a list of about 35 different types of search enhancement requests that have been entered into the Sage idea system that if we look at this in the totality of things, if we have a global search, then we can solve those kinds of problems. And that's what GetX can do. So And we're going to see that in a product demonstration today. So think about this as an idea. I've got one thing, another user's got another thing, somebody over in the purchasing department has something else, someone in customer service. All of these people together have one thing that they would like to make better. And if they can make that thing better, time and time again, as they rely on that information, that starts to build up, right? So if you think about being able to improve the experience user by user, day by day, task by task, over time, we can create huge amount of time savings. So in our current structure of Sage 100, and Sage 100 is a system all the way back to the mass 90 days that I became expert in the early 1990s when it was still a DOS-based system, right? The structure of Sage 100 today remains very, very similar to how it was all the way back in the DOS days, meaning that before I start to take action on data, I need to make sure I'm in the right company. I need to go to the proper module, right? So I need to know where these things are. I need to access the proper folder where I'm going to find the data. Then I have to choose the task from that folder. I go into that task, I have to know which tab, right? Many of these Sage 100 screens might have 3, 4, 6, 7 different tabs chock filled with data. Then I need to locate the field within the tab. And then I need to do a lookup, right? F2, F4, right? Those are the old keyboard shortcuts, or click on the spotlight. And then I type in the information that I'm looking for. So I might be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or more steps before I even begin to put in the data that I'm looking for. And hopefully I went to the right place, right? So the concept of global search is this, right? Regardless of where the data is, I'm going to search across companies, I'm going to search across modules, I'm going to search across different tabs and tasks, all from one spot. And then I'm going to let my search engine take me to the place that I need to go, right? So with my Sage 100 screen, rather than navigate to the spot, I'm going to, right within Sage 100, I'm going to click on my GetX button, right? From my GetX button, I'm going to type in the information that I'm looking for, right? In this case, a walnut lamp, and it's instantly going to pop up to me. You'll see in this case right here, 217 results, and it categorizes them for me by the company code where it found the results. And then it's showing me over on the right, I can narrow down to what it is, where it is that I expect to find that data, right? And in this case here, it's doing me a real solid, and it's showing me a picture of all of those items, right from the item master file. So search for the item regardless of where it is, regardless of what company I'm working in. Click on that hyperlink that's over in the right panel, and it's going to pop me right to that place. So I don't have to switch company codes. I don't have to switch modules. I don't have to click on a date to approve my accounting date or anything like that. So that's just kind of one simple example. And the cool thing is about GetX is all of the different methods that you can use when you do that search, right? So I can do a literal text, like I can search for a lamp, right? So think of the ways now that you might use Google when you're looking for something on the internet, right? So if I want to narrow something down, maybe I'll put quotes between it because I want to look for a phrase, right? So service agreement might be another thing that I'm looking for. So I want to look everywhere in my system where maybe it's a memo, maybe it's a comment, maybe it's an extended inventory item description where that phrase service agreement resides, and I want to find all of the results for that. Okay, but it doesn't just have to be literal text or a literal phrase. I can add logic to that, right? I can say lamp and walnut. I can say lamp not walnut. I can say lamp or walnut, and so on. So I can do those things. I can also use wildcards. I can use a wildcard at the end, at the beginning, in the middle. A wildcard of an asterisk is going to look for, in this case, in this example here, 2481 asterisk is going to look for anything that starts with 2481 and anything that trails on the end. But if I put 2481 question mark, then what it's going to look for is 2481 and one more digit, right? So it's going to, in that case, it's going to look for a 5-character phrase, and it's going to look for that based on that one extra digit. Other things we can do is approximation. I'm not finding the data that I'm looking for, right? You know what? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I made a mistake in spelling it. Maybe the user didn't put the information in, or maybe I just don't, I'm not familiar with the term or whatever the case might be, right? So if I'm looking for something from Milwaukee and I don't know how to spell Milwaukee, I can type in about what I think it is and put that little tilde at the end, and it's still going to return results to me that are as close to my spelling of Milwaukee, as possible. And then I can search for ranges too. What we're seeing here is an example of a date range search. So I'm searching for something, and it's in 2010. This is the way that Sage stores data in Sage 100. So it's 4 digits for the year, 2 digits for the month, and 2 digits for the day. So in this case right here, maybe I'd be looking for sales of a lamp. So I could say lamp and 2010-01 asterisk to 2010-05 asterisk, and I could see all of my activity for that lamp in that 5-month period just like that. So amazing, cool stuff that you can do. So why is it important, right? What does this kind of time savings start to look like, for people, right? So first of all, I'll say this, right? It saves time for all, whether you're a novice or a power user, whether you work in accounting, purchasing, customer service, inventory management, in the warehouse. It's guaranteed to provide time savings for everyone. There was a study by an organization called IDC that shows that full-time users of mid-market systems like Sage 100 spend 25% of their time searching for basic data. So just accessing basic data in their ERP system, 25% of your time. Well, here's what we found. And keep in mind, this was not a scientific study, but we did a broad range of tests of different types of data across different types of roles in the organization. And what we found is up to 70% time savings across various search types. But I'll take that one further, is there's data in your Sage 100 system that's really not searchable, that without some major work to be able to create one specific search. And that is things like extended item descriptions, memos, comments on orders or in your history, dollar amounts, more obscure types of things that everybody has within their Sage 100. And another thing about Sage 100, everybody already knows about GetX. Everyone already knows how to use Google. Everybody already knows, including your 5-year-old at home knows how to use Google to do a search, right? So think of it in your business. There's no real learning curve to this. What the key with getting the benefit from a global search of GetX is you just start using it. You'll discover those new efficiencies. And I'm going to show you some examples of that here in just a minute and when we do a live demo. But here's some other things to think about too. Users love it. I don't believe that we have any customers who've purchased GetX, and this is a product that's been on the market for 5 years, and we have hundreds of users, thousands of users who rely on GetX. Users love it. Everyone renews their maintenance. Everyone pays their annual subscription for GetX. Once you start using it, you won't want to give it up. It also shortens the learning curve and empowers novice users. We use Sage 100 internally, and I've had customer service reps who work for us who say, the cool thing about Sage 100 is I've never even had to go to training, and within our sales order and accounts receivable functions that I'm responsible for, I can find everything I want because I know the data that I'm looking for, and so I just key that in and I start doing work. So it really shortens the learning curve and empowers the novice users. So it's a huge benefit for enhancing customer service. That's where it matters most probably that might be where the biggest value is going to come from, is enhancing customer service. People who need to know now about inventory availability, about the status of their account or an order or a PO that they sent into you, or how a check was applied or something like that. And you want to move those people through quickly as you can. So finding buried data is another way to do it, and helping all users, and users being able to help other users. And I'm going to let some of these quotes kind of speak for themselves, but this is a combination of quotes that we have just accumulated from resellers and end users alike about GetX. And I'm just going to call out one quote right here from an end user client who said, "I feel like a kid on Christmas morning. This solves everything that I didn't like about Sage 100. And that's a quote that came from the president of a company, and it did it without him having one lick of training about how to use GetX. We installed it for him overnight. We ran his initial indexing engine. He was in the next morning and he was using it already. And that's the written feedback, unsolicited written feedback that I got from him about that. And that's typical of the type of reaction that we get from partners and end users who really just devote a little bit of time to seeing how they can change the way they do their business. Okay, so easy to install and set up. We follow Sage 100 security. We give full control with GetX. Only search companies, tables, and fields that you want, and also choose which tasks that you wish to do. So we give a tremendous amount of control over how this is going to work, and you'll see some of that in our demo. A few other things too. I was going to save this to the end, but I'll put it out there now because it might answer a few questions for you. So with GetX, we support it all the way back to version 4.5, all the way up to a current version of 2016, including Sage 100C, and then all three flavors of Sage 100, Standard, Advanced, and the SQL version, which is Premium. We search user-defined fields and any customer or third-party fields that are added to the standard tables that we search. So if you have a third-party add-on, I'll name a couple, like a DM2 or a Job Ops or something like that, that add new tables to the system. We don't search those new tables that are added to the system. But if the third-party developers or your Sage reseller adds additional fields, including user-defined fields, to the standard Sage 100 tables, then just check a box and we can search those using GetX as well. We currently only search the framework modules with one exception for that. We do search the employee master file with Payroll, but we're looking forward to job cost, work order, Payroll coming to framework, so we'll be able to search those as well. And then it's important to understand that GetX is a product that's a read-only application. We're not going to break any third-party customization or add-on or anything like that. So no worries in doing that. Now that said, I'll encourage everyone here who's an end user, please don't go out and install GetX on your own. Either work with us at XK0 or, more importantly, contact your Sage business partner first to learn more about that. Okay? All right, so next I am going to do a live product demo. And I'm going to talk, as we do the demo, about a few different personas, if you will, roles within an organization, and how a global search can impact their business. So I'm going to pop out of my presentation here. I'm going to close down my iTunes, which is bouncing at me. And I'm going to connect to my demo server here. Okay. And get rid of that guy there. Okay. Sage 100 system, right? So GetX installs, first of all, like any other module, right? So, we add a module here for doing a GetX search, but what I recommend with GetX is, take that task, grab it up and drag it up into your toolbar, so you can launch it directly from here. So, first of all, think of me as an accountant, right? Which is not hard to do. Actually, I'm a a CPA. So if I was an accountant, one of the things I'd be responsible for is reconciling accounts, chasing down dollar amounts, trying to figure out why certain things were spent, and so on. So I might even look for things like a dollar amount. Maybe I'm off on a reconciliation or something like that. So I'm using GetX Search, to search for a dollar amount. So it's just blasted through my entire Sage 100 database with a match on my $908.84. And boy, even if I don't know what a GL transaction view is, maybe I'm going to get to know what it is fast, because sure enough, it found that match of $908.84. And perhaps I was, like I said, I was trying to reconcile a bank account, but what I'm finding out here is that actually $908.84, that got posted to my petty cash, right? So just like that, I found my answer. Didn't have to run a whole bunch of reports, tick a whole bunch of things off. I knew that dollar amount sounded familiar. I just wasn't finding it where I thought I was going to find it. GetX took care of that for me. Okay, so here's another thing that I might do if I'm an accountant is maybe I'm responsible for payroll. And maybe I'm responsible for payroll in an environment where I've got payroll that's in maybe multiple different companies, but one account is going to fund the balances that are going to go into the payroll for all those different companies. And if you're an accountant, or if you know one, you can relate to what I just said there, right? So I do a search here and I say cash and payroll, right? And so here's what I've got. I've got 4 different companies, ABC, EEC, MFG, and XYZ, that lo and behold, all have an account with a description called cash and bank payroll, right? So look through, right? Cash and payroll, and ignored the in bank, and all of these, I believe they're designed the same way, right? But if you'll follow along with me, what I can do now is across different companies, I can look here. Now you can see I'm looking at ABC company, and I'm looking at my account balance. I come over here and I want to see EEC company. Click on the history tab there, and I see I've got 0 balance there. Now I'm going to do MFG company, and I'll leave good enough alone because I think it illustrates with the 3 pretty well. But there's ABC company, there's MFG company, and there's EEC company. Just like that, I'm able to see which companies I need to move money into in order to do my biweekly payroll or whatever the case might be. Okay, so that to me is a pretty amazing accounting type tool that you can do, right? So think about it. You're getting near the end of the year, and you want to make sure that repairs and maintenance are all done in a proper sort of way, right? So I can go here and drill into repairs, inventory repairs and process, or some other thing. But you'll see other modules where repairs are also stored, and I can look those up. Here's another thing too, and this is a great thing about being able to search the payroll master file, is that we have customers who employ a great number of people who are all paid straight out of their Sage 100 system. And we've had clients who've contacted us. We have a couple of different clients with large payroll who've been burned by identity theft. Different people using a social security number that's not theirs, and I think I typed in the wrong number. So I'm going to try that again. I'm going to type in 986, and this is demo data, so I apologize if this is your social security number, but this happens to be demo data from the Sage ABC company. So I search on it here and look at, you know what, I blew it. Sorry, bad example. I actually turned off another company, but in another company code where I had turned off the employee search, I had that. You know what, I'm going to try and bail myself out here in a jiffy. I'm going into EEC company. I'm going to turn this, actually it's not EEC, it's, what did I turn off? Darn it, folks, I apologize. I forgot which company I turned that off for. Anyway, if I've got an employee with a social security number in another company code, and that employee happens to have a different name, I know that I've found a problem. Okay. Now I'm doing these searches right here. Remember, I did the dollar amount search here, and that showed me quite a bit of information. Well, I'm logged into the system as a user called, XK0. So just to come back real quick here, you'll see 908. Whoops, my dot didn't work there, and that's a formatting. There we go. When I search on that, I've got general ledger information. So remember, that this is a permission-based search. So now I'm going to say I'm not logged in as XK0. I'm going to log in as a user called AP, right? So now I'm going to do my AP. While I'm in AP, I'm going to search for that $908.84. And look what happens now. I get no results, right? And the reason is, when I go to roll maintenance here, and I won't go all the way there, but in roll maintenance, I don't have rights to that table. So what that means is even if that person would have access to that task through a standard lookup, if we haven't granted them rights to be able to see it, they won't be able to lay eyes on information that we don't wish for them to lay eyes on, right? So also, if I'm, an accounts payable clerk, maybe I want to search for something called like a check history, right? I get a call from someone who says, hey, you sent me check number 1666, but I'm not sure what I should be applying this to, right? So I search on 1666, and it finds check number 1666. And when I drill into that, right, it takes me straight there, and I'm able to serve that person right away and say, hey, here's the invoice number that we had applied that to, right? So nice little benefit for an AP clerk. But most of my searches are around customer service, and that's through my user called XK0. So I'm going to log back on that way, right? And so here are some of the common ways in customer service that we're seeing GetX used. And one would be customer calls and they want to know the status of their PO, right? So I enter in the PO number, right? And it finds it for me, and it takes me straight into sales order entry, right? And you'll notice here these different tasks, right? I've got a view, I've got a customer inquiry, and this is because, when we do the setup of GetX with the setup wizard, what we're able to do is define which tasks we're going to see. So when I find a match that's based on, and let's see, I'm in a company code that doesn't have sales order set up, so I'm not seeing that, right? So go into ABC company and back into my setup wizard, right? So now I'm going to do a drill down, and I'm going to see sales order header. And so this is the control that we give over you. First of all, do we even want to index that field? Do we want to make it searchable? And then which fields do we want to be able to search within that table? And then what are all the associated tasks that I could potentially launch, right? Which ones do I want to have displayed? And that's where these choices, come from here, right? So back to my example for customer service. Maybe I want to search on something called American. American, I've got a lot of matches on. Why? Because I've got vendor activity that's American. I've got, right? So I've got American Alarm Service. I've got American Express Company. I've got customers who have that as well. Now, we talked about changing workflows here, right? What if customer American called and said that they wanted to enter a new sales order, right? So I type in American, I filter down to my customers, I click on new sales order, and just like that, it's filled in American Business Futures for me, taking my next order number, and I can go ahead and put that into my system. Okay, now I can take that even further. In fact, let's go and look here. I start a new sales order, and it fills in a ship to address for me, right? Which is distribution warehouse in Milwaukee. Now, Why did it do that? The reason it did that is in American Business Futures, I have a primary ship to code of 1 that happens to be American Business Futures in Milwaukee. Well, look at the kind of workflow improvement we can do using GetX if I say American and Racine, right? So what that's done for me is it's shown me my results in my ship to address. So when my customer called and said, hey, I have an order for my Racine location, right? Now I can just hone in on that, click on new sales order. And now not only has it filled in American Business Futures for me, it took ship to address 2, which happens to be my Racine location. Now, how would I be confident, that I had the right thing? And let's just highlight here what we show when we've got a match. So here, American and Racine, and here's what it lit up for me in green. It found a match in the ship to name, American Business Futures, and it found it in the ship to address, Racine, Wisconsin, Racine warehouse, and in the ship to city, Racine. So everywhere where it found the literal match for what I'm looking for, it's highlighting in green for me where that information is. So that's kind of confidence building stuff that you'll gain, right? So also in customer service, maybe someone called me, I had used the service agreement example before, right? So, I want to know, everyone who's got a service agreement, and it looks like I just have one vendor rather that I've got that service agreement with. So happens to be All Climate. And folks, this is a customer memo. This happened to be, in the description, but I could search for, I'm just going to make it easy on myself here. I could also search for service representative, right? So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to add a quote mark to lock in the fact that it's a phrase. Whoops. So quote mark and paste service representative, and I'm going to put the my end quote there. And here's that match right there. You'll see I hover over it, and it's going to show me the long text, and I find the match on my service representative. So when I go into my vendor inquiry, I find that. So, good luck searching vendor memos, customer memos, item memos, order memos, and so on through standard tools, not within just Sage 100, but really, anywhere, and compare it to what that's like using using GetX. Okay, so here's another one too. Let's say that you need to look up a customer check number and find out how it was applied. Now, on the Sage 100 Idea site, there are almost 60 votes that have been placed into that for the ability to just quickly enter in a customer check number and find out how it was applied. Well, with GetX, I type in a check number here, and I go and I'm going to take a look at an AR transaction history, on that check number, and I go into my customer view, and it's narrowed this down for me, and it's, darn it, folks, that's what I get for last minute monkeying with my system. I made some late changes. Let's see if I can get it here. There we go, customer payments view. Sorry guys, that's what I get for a little script deviation. And here's my check, 56,875, and that's the invoice that we applied it to right there. So enter in the check number, choose my customer payments view. It's already taken me there, right? So I don't have to know how to use Business Insights Explorer. It applied the filter for me, and it shows me the invoice, automatically that's applied to. All right. So few other type things. If you think about the sort of needs that inventory and operations type people might have, right? So, I search, for instance, on a lamp, and it found 152 instances of a lamp, including 4 items, right? So once again, these are all images from the item master file. So if I go into the item inquiry here, I've got this same image right here that I'm looking at from within GetX. So I can do that very quickly. And as we've mentioned before, I do it across company. I've got different items here, and I have no image attached to these, but those are all the different instances that I find for a lamp, right? But if I search for a lamp and walnut, now I'm starting to narrow it down a little bit further, right? So, now I've got my single inventory item, but furthermore, I can see, details. I can see 25 different orders where I've got a lamp. So, it's showing me my results 1 through 25. So I'm seeing all of the instances of this lamp, and then I can scroll through, and see a history, and maybe even, do a search to figure out, which customers have been buying it, or, when's the last time I purchased that, and so on. That's the kind of intelligence things that we can do from here, right? Inventory or operations people are probably ones who rely on those extended inventory item descriptions. So I search on the word special, and I click here in my ABX or in my XYZ company, and here's an extended inventory item description that includes the word special in that. So, it's taken me from ABC company all the way into XYZ company, all the way into my item maintenance, all the way in to my extended item description, all from the very simple lookup, right? And then I use one last one for my inventory and operations one. Let's say that I use alias inventory items in my Sage 100 system. So I happen to know that I have an item or more that I refer to as my 2-drawer letter file, right? That's my alias item number. So, I do a search on that, and I can find an alias item number. But look here, here's an item code. It's different from that. And if I actually go into the item, I'll see even my item description uses the number 2. It doesn't use the word description. So, this is a real interesting application of the system. And we have numerous clients, especially with high volume inventory items that rely on alias item numbers, who get tons of benefit from being able to look up based on those alias inventory items. Okay, so what else? I'll show you, a few other things too. I had used the search for something that I didn't quite know how to spell, right? So, I know how to spell Milwaukee, but not a lot of folks do. So I use that tilde key in the upper left-hand corner of my keyboard, right? That's that squiggle, and you'll see here it didn't light it up in green, but it knows kind of what I'm trying to get at there. So, even a customer contact, I go into a customer contact here, and sure enough, that customer contact is in Milwaukee. So that's how it found that match for the approximation, right? If I want to know something, maybe it's a recall. Maybe I have a product that starts with 2481, and I'm going to use an asterisk to look for things after it, and I've got maybe a lot number of Jan 90, right? So what I'm able to do here is see that I've got all these different item codes, that had that lot number, and then I can go in and take a look at these different sales orders, be it in history or open order or customer inquiry and so on, and take the necessary action that I need to do there. Let's say that I want to search for email addresses that are in my system. So I put an asterisk in there, and I say, at Sage, why am I doing this? Well, maybe I want to do something for paperless office in Sage 100, and I just want to find out, everyone who I've got an email address for, for a particular company. And you'll see here, when I do this search, that I've got Artie at sage.sample.com. I've got Tony S at sage.sample.com. I've got info at sage.sample.com. And that's by putting an asterisk on and then doing a search on an email address. So folks, for the most part, I'm really just kind of scratching the surface for what we can do, but I'm going to share with you, some good news so you can find out how you might utilize this GetX Search in your system too. So that I'm going to kick out of my live demo and I'm going to jump back into my presentation here, and I'm just about wrapped up, and then I'll take a look and see what kind of questions that we've got. So here's what we have for Sage 100 is we have the opportunity for you to have a free download, a free 30-day trial. Now, if you're a Sage business partner, we license that trial 1 year at a time. So you can do it for 1 year. And here's how you do it. So once again, for Sage end users, please contact your business partner first before installing any new software to your Sage 100 system. There's lots of easy assistance that's available to you, and the install and the setup for GetX will take about 15 minutes, and that's it. And so here's how it's done. I'm going to walk you through step by step. And again, we have a 5-minute video that shows how to install and do a setup of GetX. I'm going to walk you through this, and this will be included in the video that we'll send out to you of today's presentation. So first of all, go to our website, right? You'll do a drop down from products and go to the GetX Search, right? And there's a download version 2016. You'll notice next to it is a button called free trial. That's going to take you down to earlier versions. So find the version that you're looking for, and then from your Sage 100 server, GetX installs like any other Sage 100 module, right? So you'll go through the process of doing the installation. Once you've installed it, like any other Sage 100 module, you'll want to go into company maintenance and activate the module. Once you've activated the module, what you'll want to do is go into role maintenance. I would recommend first setting up for a single user who would likely be an admin user and give the proper permission of search capability for GetX. Once you've created a role for GetX permission, what you want to do is you'll register it. That's automatically going to grant a 30-day free trial. At this point, Sage business partners should contact us at XK0, and we'll extend that further to a 1-year license at a time. That's the way that we do that. Okay, so once you've activated that registration, then what you can do is go through and personalize it if you like. So you can choose to go through table by table and decide what fields you want to search or what tasks you want to do. If you don't wish to do those things, no worries. We made our best guess about what fields a user would want to search, what tasks they might want to launch, right? So it's already pre-bundled with pre-selections that were done by us, but can certainly be modified by you. So this is an optional step, if you will. And then the last step before you search is you need to run an initial indexing. And you'll see a path here. This would be similar, for everybody. This is from the Sage 100 server. Underneath the Mass 90 folder is a GX folder and then a service folder. And from there, you're going to go ahead and do a run as administrator and create a valid login that you're going to embed into the system. And then you're going to click a Run Now button to go ahead and run that initial indexing. What that indexing does is it creates a text set of data parallel to your Sage 100 ProvideX data. So text data that's next to it that will be about 1/4 the size of your Sage 100 data. So if you're thinking in terms of your backups, right? If you've got a 1 GB data, we're going to create approximately 250 megabyte text file that gets updated constantly. So you'll even see in this window, you'll set the timer for how frequently you want the indexing to run. I recommend that you set it to index once a minute. What that will do for you is, as data comes into your system or gets changed or deleted, your indexing engine will get updated once a minute. So that's how fresh the data will be within your system and how soon you can start pulling data back out utilizing GetX. Okay. All right. And I think we already did that. Validate your login, save the settings, go ahead and run now, and that's going to be done. So couple other closing comments about GetX. Here's the thing about GetX. It's truly amazing, and I just love this picture doing it, but it's only amazing if you use it, right? Here's the thing. Users, accounting system users, can be creatures of habit. I don't want to kid anybody. There will be resistors who do it. People who will go, nah, I'm good doing it the way I do it, right? So here's the thing. I get it. I understand. I have my habits that probably could be faster. If you want to get more from your system, if you want to spend less time doing basic tasks and all of that, we invite you to use GetX in that 30-day trial mode and try it out. Share your experience with different users about how it's changing the way that you use your system, because there will be people who just don't want to learn a new way to do things, and that's part of it. But business owners and CFOs, they get it, right? So if you talk with business owners and CFOs about the value and the savings and all of that, those are people who might encourage those other users who might be resistant, in terms of trying it. You might be surprised, you won't be surprised at the influence the business owners and the CFOs can have, about trying new things that really save, everybody time. So I just noticed on our website that we did not put out the installation video. This is a little 4-minute, 45-second video to walk you through step by step in terms of doing the install. So I'll make sure first of all that gets put back on our GetX page on our site, but I'll make sure that gets sent out to you, everyone who's attended the event today. Okay. Economics of GetX, right? Everybody wants to know, how much does it cost? We sell GetX on a subscription basis, $90 per user per year. That equates to about 25 cents per user per day, right? So it's a fraction of a cost per user to potentially create huge amount of time savings each and every day. 25 cents per user per day, that's the dollar commitment. Now we license based on your total concurrent users, right? So if it's a 5-user system, it's $450 per year. Now, we do sell a perpetual license, quote unquote perpetual license, if you will, subject to an annual maintenance agreement, and that's $5,000 for unlimited user. Now, our average install for GetX, right? This is part of the validation. The last 2 points are really about validation of the economics of it. Our average install is about a 25-user site. Now, why is that? Is that because only bigger companies benefit from it? No. What we found is that's because those companies actually have IT departments or other people who are looking for new kinds of efficiencies, and they're going to drive in, that kind of change management from within an organization, to make that happen. But the other thing is our renewal rate is nearly 100%, on that subscription. So I'm going to take a look at questions right now. I've got about 5 minutes before the hour. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and pop those in. And I've got a question here: does GetX work in the job cost module? So GetX will search job cost fields that are written to framework modules, right? AR, sales order, inventory, and so on. So if there's a job cost, a job number or something like that, that is a searchable field. When job cost goes to the framework, then we'll be able to adapt GetX to searching job cost and work order and payroll once those get to the framework. Here's a question here. How about bank rec or AP check history to check for the same charges to Visa in the same month or 45 days, something like that? You know what? That's a complex one enough. Stan, I'm going to get back to you on that one. I'll hold on to that question, and I'll reply back to you and get you an answer on that one. Okay, another question here. Can this work with third-party add-ons like IIG or DSD? And the answer is yes, to the extent that they add fields to the standard data tables in the Sage Data Dictionary, then those become searchable. Do users have to be out of the system during the initial indexing? And the answer is they do not. In the very early days, we were using a different indexing method than we did now, and we had to because indexing caused some system degradation. We totally re-engineered the search engine, and now you can do the search and not have anyone, the indexing is happening, the initial one or the incremental indexing that's constantly ongoing, and nobody in the system will know that that's going on. Okay. All right. And those are the only questions that I have. So we are 2 minutes before the top of the hour. I wish you all a fabulous day. I encourage you all to please claim your 30-day trial, or for partners, your 1-year free license, which is renewable each year. And I hope you enjoy utilizing GetX. Thank you so much for your time.